I'm telling you today the story of a warrior, not a human, not a horse, a dog. A war dog of the Roman Empire. Its Latin name was strong and fierce, meaning war dog. But today we're changing that difficult name to an easy, memorable one. I'll call him Ironfang. Yes, Ironfang, Iron Tooth, with teeth that made Rome's enemies tremble. Ironfang was not a pet dog. His job was not to play in the camp or run around with pieces of bread. He was a living weapon. Like the soldiers, he trained, marched, guarded, and, when necessary, charged into battle. Roman soldiers trusted Ironfang just as much as they trusted their shields and swords. To understand this story, we have to go further back, to the hilly and rocky Greece. The people there kept a large, strong guard dog. They called them Molossus. These dogs guarded flocks of sheep, drove away wild animals, and intimidated thieves. People said these dogs were completely devoted to their owners. They would face tigers and bears if necessary. From the lineage of these dogs, through many twists and turns, our Ironfang was later born. The Romans were very intelligent. They observed what was useful and improved it for their own purposes. They brought those strong Greek dogs, mixed them with their own native dogs to create a new breed. Sometimes they even mixed them with the war dogs of the northern barbarian tribes. Do you know why? To increase speed, boost attack power, and most importantly, to instill discipline. Ironfang's body was large, but not heavy, about 60 centimeters tall, 40 to 50 kilograms in weight, with black or dark-colored fur, and a calm but watchful gaze in his eyes. His bark was thick and deep. Hearing it at night would send shivers down an enemy's spine. But Ironfang didn't go to the battlefield immediately. First, he entered Rome's bloody games. In the arena, he was pitted against criminals or dangerous wild animals. Lions, bears, wild boars, whatever came, Ironfang fought. Many times they were starved for a few days before being put into the arena to make their attacks more intense. The crowd cheered, blood flowed on the stage, and a dog fought with all his might. But it didn't end there. This was just the beginning. Rome realized that these dogs could be very useful, not only in games, but also in the army. When Rome set out to conquer, they saw that many nations used war dogs. Celts, Germans, Britons, all had encountered terrifying dogs. These dogs would leap over shields, bite at legs, and shield their owners with their bodies rather than let them die. Rome saw this and decided, we too will retrain our dogs. The difference would be in discipline. Ironfang was taught, no attacking without orders. Recognize your own people, hold your position, and die with your owner if necessary. This training was tough but clear. First, Ironfang learned to identify scents, the scent of his own pack, the scent of the camp, the scent of enemies. He learned to distinguish these. Then he was accustomed to sounds, the sounds of battle, the clanging of shields, the clash of swords, shouts. He learned to remain calm even hearing these. He would act immediately upon hearing a command and ignore everything else. He was taught not to run unnecessarily, not to retreat, not to mind taunts or provocations. Just work, just rules, just the team. Ironfang walked alongside the soldiers. He marched up to 30 to 35 kilometers a day. Sometimes a small bag was tied to his back, containing food, messages, or small equipment. Returning to camp at night, he rested but also guarded. Around the camp, at every door, near the food, near the prisoners, Ironfang was everywhere. He would sense the slightest sound in the air at night before anyone else. Even when human eyes were heavy with sleep, Ironfang's ears were awake. In difficult areas like Germania, Thrace, Dacia, Ironfang's role was significant. Forests, mountains, fog. Everywhere he warned the team in advance. If he detected signs of a surprise attack, he would signal. Everyone in the team understood that this dog's reliability was very high. Soldiers saw him not just as a dog, but as a comrade. Many times they kept separate food for Ironfang, bandaged him with torn cloth if he was injured, and made space for him beside their tents on rainy nights. The great history books mention Ironfang's name very little, but the story is hidden in small anecdotes. There was a battle in 101 BC where enemy dogs fought tooth and nail in front of the camp until the very end. Even after their owners died, they refused to turn back. Roman soldiers could not forget this scene. It was etched in their minds how a dog could guard until its last breath. And from that, Ironfang's prestige grew even more. When Julius Caesar campaigned in Gaul and Britain, he saw dogs guarding homes and villages there too. Rome then understood they needed to spread their own Ironfang further. Some evidence is right before our eyes. On an emperor's column, dogs are seen walking alongside soldiers. Perhaps they were tracking, perhaps guarding, perhaps carrying messages. Whatever it was, their presence was for work, not for show. No one would call Ironfang a great war machine. He was a subtle weapon. Where there was darkness, where there was fear, where there was sudden attack, Ironfang was the first sentinel. You might be thinking, how can a dog be made to follow rules like this? The answer is simple, a mix of love and discipline. Those who trained Ironfang knew that mere beatings accomplished nothing. Consistent practice, clear instructions, and immediate rewards for good work, these taught him obedience. When Ironfang learned to stop attacking, to sit or stay still at a mere gesture, there was no doubt left. He had become part of the team. When soldiers called his name, he would run to them. Many kept a small metal collar on their Ironfang, bearing the team's emblem, as if he too was one of them. Now let's go back to the training days. At dawn, Ironfang and his trainer would set out, running in open fields, jumping over small obstacles, listening to commands, recognizing scents. This went on. Sometimes he had to walk with shield-bearing soldiers so that the clanging of shields or the friction of metal no longer frightened him. A short break at noon, then practice again, returning to camp at night after eating, a quick check of the surroundings before sleep. Day after day, week after week, Ironfang was prepared this way. Another matter was very important: patience. Ironfang was taught that even with an enemy in front, he would only attack when signaled. This patience distinguished him from tribal dogs. Many tribal dogs would rush out in anger, but Ironfang knew when to run, when to stop. This control made him dear to Rome. On the battlefield, when dust was flying, people were shouting, swords were clashing, Ironfang would still look into his trainer's eyes, waiting for the signal. Let me mention the arena again. Yes, it was cruel, but it was there that Ironfang learned things that later proved useful. Not to be afraid of noise, not to be disturbed by blood, and not to take his eyes off the target. Many Ironfangs became as popular as humans on that stage, earning names and people applauded them. But honestly, Ironfang's greatest glory was not in the arena, but in the camp. The courage he showed in the silence of the night, on the edge of a dark forest. That's what kept the soldiers alive. I know many of you love dogs. Imagine, a soldier is tired all day. At night, he comes to his tent with a weary body and sits down. Ironfang comes and rests his head beside him. The soldier strokes his head. Both are silent, no words. Yet there is a bond. This bond endures even in war. And when the war ends, yes, many soldiers took their Ironfangs home. Ironfang guarding the village gate, children stroking his head. That war dog comes to the village and becomes part of the family. Sometimes when he died, a small stone was placed as a grave marker, with the name written, Warrior, Friend, Ironfang. But times have changed. Methods of warfare have changed. Big machines arrived, the role of horses increased, then many other things. Gradually, that old lineage merged, changed, and even disappeared. Yet traces remain. In some of today's large, calm guard dogs, one can find the blood of Ironfang. In their eyes, that watchful gaze. In their bodies, those strong bones, and in their hearts, that urge to protect. History lives on this way. A name is lost, but a meaning endures. You might ask, does Ironfang truly deserve a hero's place? I would say absolutely. History records the names of the great emperors, generals, discoverers. But the stories of those who guard silently, who risk their own lives to keep a group safe, their stories also need to be told. Ironfang was that silent quote,